come to town, come to save the Princess Zelda. Got it taken away, now the children don't play, but they will when Link saves the day. Hallelujah! Now Link, fill up your hearts so you can shout your sword with power. And when you're feeling all down, the valley will come around, so you'll be brave and not a city coward. Now Link has saved the day, but got it, Link is ready. So now a valley is free, and now a hill shall be. Link, I think your name shall go down into history.
Okay, so this is our third podcast for E3. We have quite a bit to talk about. Or rather, I don't know if you have anything to talk about, Steph, but I have a lot on my mind with this, new Nintendo stuff. Do you have a lot to talk about? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've been catching myself up on Nintendo. I don't know how I feel about any of it. Like,
Right.
I'm excited, I'm confused, I'm a little bit terrified.
Right. Yeah,
It's definitely a roller coaster.
I have those exact emotions right now. I mean, well, let's start with the 3DS. How much of the 3DS stuff have you heard so far?
I've heard of the game lineup. I know that the online store and stuff went up today, and that they were offering like a free little package with Excite Bike, and I think Link's Awakening they threw up there for like $6.
Hmm.
So I know that much. Is there anything I'm missing from that?
Well, they showed off 4 games we already knew about, but they looked like hugely improved versions than what we've seen before. They showed off Mario Kart 3DS, which has glider planes on the carts and submarine propellers on the carts now, so you can glide in the air and go underwater with them, which is kind of neat.
What?
It looks to have a lot of the same tracks as the original Mario Kart DS, although it's borrowed a couple Wii tracks, and from what I understand, Retro Studios is helping design a couple tracks too. Then they showed off Super Mario 3DS, which is kind of a cross between Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy, and it looks just about as good as Mario Galaxy does. And Mario Galaxy is probably the best looking Wii game. But instead of taking place in space, it has like a more traditional Mario, level palette, I guess you could say. Then they showed off Star Fox 64 3D. In that game, there wasn't really too much new on that game, except for in the multiplayer, the 3DS's camera has like a video avatar of you next to your R-Wing when you're fighting in multiplayer, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that's
Really?
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's online or not.
Yeah, that's the only thing is I would love to see that be online multiplayer.
Right.
But I think they said they're not going to be doing that, which is a huge disappointment for me.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it would be pretty crappy. Star Fox Command on the original DS, if you remember that game, that had online multiplayer, although apparently it wasn't that good.
Yeah, it wasn't a real Star Fox game.
What was the 4th game they talked about?
Fucking Luigi's Mansion 2, man.
Oh yeah, that was
That's
the...
what it's about.
Yeah. That was probably the highlight of the 3DS part of the conference for me. It looks really good. Several mansions you can go to now. I guess maybe Luigi's on like a ghost hunting payroll or something.
He won a block of mansions.
Yeah. It looks graphically it looks better than the GameCube game, which I guess isn't saying a lot since that was a launch title. But it looks a lot more varied. Like one of the rooms has like an aquarium in the background. One of the rooms they showed was like a mummy tomb. So it looks like there's a lot more variation, which is really all the original title needed in order to really be, AAA status, in my opinion. The gameplay was solid in it, and it was fun to play. And then they announced Zelda Four Swords as a free downloadable game coming in September or October, which is exciting. They didn't show any screenshots or anything, so that's kind of weird, but whatever.
If only that one would have online play.
We don't know if it does or not, so fingers crossed on that one. Um, uh, Before this conference, it seemed like a lot of people were really down on the 3DS, whereas last night or 2 nights ago I said the 3DS is getting a little too much hate, and I think that it has a better software lineup than the DS did at this point in its life. And that's going to be true going forward. Mario 3DS, Mario Kart, Star Fox, all those games are coming out before the holiday season. Oh, the 3DS game I was forgetting was Kid Icarus. That game looks really amazing. Fast-paced gameplay, and it looks really fun. What do you think of Kid Icarus, Steph?
I haven't seen too much on Kid Icarus, mainly just because I'm not that personally interested in it. But I am very impressed with the rest of the lineup. Like, I'm freaking excited for Animal Crossing. That's one of my guilty pleasure games. Of course, I'm really, really excited for Luigi's Mansion 2, because we haven't had a Luigi's Mansion game in years upon years.
Right.
I'm okay with the new Mario games. I'm going to always get those at some point. A little disappointed with lack of multiplayer, online multiplayer for Star Fox, but I'll see myself getting it at some point down the line.
Right, yeah. More than anything, I think the 3DS emerged the victor for this E3. I think this E3 was all about the portables, and I think the 3DS has a slight edge over PlayStation Vita, if only because it's out now. Nintendo's announced 4 key games that are almost guaranteed quality coming out before the holiday season's over. So if you were thinking the original DS was better than the 3DS was at its point in its life, that will not be true by the time the Christmas season is over. Those 4 games are going to put the 3DS over the top, and I don't think of anything in the first 2 years for the DS that could quite match what's coming out this holiday season. So that's very exciting.
It is very, very impressive that they're having these good of quality games coming out right away, which is what they really needed, because I think they made a bad decision for releasing the 3DS when they did. It was in the middle of spring. There's no really any big holidays around, really no reason for people to just try spending $250, and there's almost, at this point, nothing to really play. Maybe 1 or 2 games that you would get just because that's all there is that's out now that's really worth playing, and you want to feel like, you got your money's worth from the system that you just bought, but as of right now, there's honestly jack shit for it. I mean, even the people I know that have 3DSs, they're still playing original DS games on it because there's nothing right now really worth playing. So seeing all these games getting ready to come out is promising, but it would have been nice if they delayed the 3DS launch until this winter and had all those games come out at the same time as the system. Right. But I am definitely going to be really curious to see if they do any sort of holiday Christmas bundle with the 3DS, like they normally do with their DS systems.
Right. I don't think anybody would argue that the 3DS wasn't rushed out. It definitely seemed like from the system design, which kind of looks a little slapdash with the 3 different paint jobs, 3 different layers, to the software support, to the price. All those things could have easily been rectified if they had waited a little bit more. That said, I don't think they wanted to wait another year, because if they had waited, then this E3 would have been about 3DS before it comes out too, which isn't something Nintendo wants to do. They wanted the system out so that it could start selling, start gaining an install base, and start gaining a reason for third-party developers to look at it. That said, I don't think people should be blaming the 3DS that it doesn't really have that great of a software lineup yet. I mean, it's always like that in the first couple months. That the situation's already kind of um, the Band-Aid this month is Ocarina of Time 3D, which it's a port, but it's a port of one of the best games ever made, and it's actually not a port. It's a remake, an enhanced remake. So that's coming out, and that's going to stave off a couple of those complaints, I think, for a little while at least.
Yeah, having Zelda come out this month is going to finally help with that, and it's going to start, maybe not necessarily driving whole sales yet, but it is going to start increasing the interest within the general gaming community about possibly getting one. And then it's just a matter of when these other stack of games come out, is it going to be a whole bunch of them at once, just in 1 month, or are we going to see Nintendo kind of trickle them out every a couple of months before Christmas, or what?
Yeah. Um, uh, you mentioned Animal Crossing earlier. That game it's looking okay. I wasn't really hot on it last year because City of Folk kind of burned me out on the franchise, but it's looking pretty decently. I don't think there's a date on that, but I wouldn't expect it to come out any earlier or any later than this year.
I hope it comes out this year, because City Folk was the one on the Wii, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one I didn't play too much of, just because, I don't know, I like having a game like that as a handheld. I like just being able to carry it with me and take it around with me,
Right.
and not sitting there mindlessly picking fruit or something on my TV. I don't know why, I just don't like doing that. So I'm looking really forward to the 3DS one, just because I do prefer the handheld Animal Crossings.
Right, and it will be interesting to see what they do with the online. Nintendo, in general, has kind of positioned Animal Crossing as one of their major online titles. The original Animal Crossing Wild World came out right after Mario Kart DS, which introduced Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. If you can believe that, no Nintendo games before those two were online. Those were the first two online Nintendo games. So that was kind of a key tenet. And then with City Folk, they introduced voice chat in the form of We Speak. Although, last year they kind of put the kibosh on We Speak and canceled it or whatever. But, still. Um, but yeah, as far as the 3DS version goes, it's going to be interesting to see how the online shapes up and whether they position it as a major online title. I think that covers all the 3DS stuff. Before we segue into the Wii U stuff, I wanted to kind of talk just a little bit about Zelda Skyward Sword. That game is coming out before the end of this year, and as far as we know, it's not being ported to Wii U, which is kind of a relief for me. And it's looking really good. Did you get a chance to see any of the footage or trailer stuff?
Yeah, I've watched some of it. I'm looking forward to it just because it's got a very Wind Waker-like art style, but not as, I guess, kiddie.
Right.
As much as I hate using that word, that's the best word that kind of defines Nintendo. But it's not like, cutesy wootsy little Link here. It's Twilight Princess, like age Link, but it's got the, really pretty cel-shaded HD look to it, which I really like, and I like the idea of having free roaming again. I loved that in Wind Waker. I loved just exploring and saying, hey, there's an island over there. Might not be anything on it, but I want to go there, and then going. Because one of the main complaints that I personally had with Twilight Princess is that I didn't like how claustrophobic and linear it felt until you got to the open fields where you're riding on a pony and you're doing the horse battles. That was really the only time the game really felt kind of open. Maybe it opened up a little bit more closer to the end, because I actually never technically finished it since I had it spoiled for me. I lost my motivation. But I had a really hard time getting into it just because I didn't like how straightforward it was.
Right. It was very limiting at the beginning. I remember that. But Skyward Sword really looks like a combination of some of the best elements of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, put together.